Good morning, everyone. My name is Isabel. I'm the Generation 3 coordinator here at the RAIN study. It's great to see such a full and busy room today, so thank you everyone for joining us here today. I am up on stage with some of our dedicated Generation 2 participants. I've got Marissa, Michael and Rebecca, who are our Generation 2 participants here with us today. And we've also been lucky enough to invite some of our Generation 2B participants up on stage, and I have Holly and Tony who've been able to join us here today as well, and their little one down the end making a star appearance. So as many of you know, the RAIN study has been a journey that spanned over 35 years, and our Generation 2 participants have been involved since the very beginning. Through the years, they've contributed to numerous follow-up studies, helping us understand more about health and development. And now we're in a very exciting new chapter with the study where we are able to introduce the Generation 3 study and their other biological parents who are known as the Generation 2B participants. So our aim today for the participant panel is just to gain a much deeper understanding of all of your experiences so far, especially as you guide your children through their first steps within the RAIN study. We're here to learn about what's going well, the challenges that they have faced, and hear about any of their first experiences with their children and the Generation 2B's first experience with the follow-up study. So Marissa, you've been involved with the RAIN study for 33 years now. Looking back, what motivated you to stay involved in the study during its early years?
So initially it was something I was told I had to go to growing up in the 90s, just do what your parents tell you to do. However, it didn't take long for me to realise how much fun it actually was, especially getting so much time off school.
Yeah, absolutely. And Michael, you've also been involved in the study since the start. Do you think that your involvement with the study has influenced any part of your childhood at all?
Absolutely. Probably what Marissa said was getting a half day off school every now and then was absolutely amazing. But yeah, it was always good. Everyone would say, you know, where were you? And you'd say RAIN study and no one had any idea what you were talking about. But it was really good to have that kind of, you know, under your belt that you were a part of the RAIN study. And once you explain that to someone, what you did and what the research was for, you know, everyone found it really interesting. Yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah, I guess it was always just good to be a part of something.
Yeah, and has that influenced your decision to continue participating as an adult at all?
Definitely. I think similar to Marissa, when I was younger, it was you're going and that's the end of it. And then by the time I got to I think it was a 21-year fertility study, I was very much, Mum said, look, if you don't want to go, you don't have to go, you're your own man now. But I was more than happy to go. I guess the RAIN study always made such a big fuss of you when you came in that it was quite easy to want to go. It was never a burden or anything. So.
Awesome. And then looking back at your time with the RAIN study so far, were there any aspects of your daily life that you'd have to modify or adjust in order to continue your participation and involvement?
No, it was always quite easy for me. Obviously, when I was younger, my mum obviously organised everything and I got days off school and that was great. And when I was a teenager, I think there was a couple of times where I was, you know, do I have to go? And Mum said yes. And again, it was still a day off school, so it was all good. But by my early 20s, you know, I had days off from work and stuff, and the RAIN study it was always easy to say, when's your day off? Oh, Wednesday, come in Wednesday. So it was never too hard of a thing to kind of commit to. And then I rolled into FIFO work most of my 20s, and I had weeks off to come in and do stuff. So no, it was never hard to manage at all.
Beautiful. And Rebecca, you have your kids involved in the study now. From your prior sort of experiences and contributions to the study so far, do you feel that being a RAIN study participant has influenced your approach to parenting at all?
Yes, I do feel like being able to go have the experience, get the results, and actually be able to relate that to my own health, my own well-being, and my own abilities in my youth and my early adulthood. It makes it easier for me to make certain parenting choices now that I have 3 young ones of my own.
Yeah. Are there any specifics at all?
Not that I can give you off the top of my head right now, but there's guaranteed to be a few in there.
Yeah, no worries. So since we first started the data collection for the Generation 3 studies back in February, we've been really excited to be able to bring the other biological parent of our Generation 3 children in. And the involvement of the Gen 2B participant does just help us have a more complete picture of the Generation 3's health and development by gathering important genetic information and insights from both biological parents. So it allows us to understand a lot more about how family health patterns and genetics might shape the next generation of children. So when our Generation 2B participants come into the RAIN study, they complete a series of pretty basic assessments, which are RAIN study's core measurements. They'll do height and weight measurements, basic anthrop measurements, rested blood pressures, as well as some biological samples, and a few questionnaires as well, which are done pre-assessment and also during the assessment, as you can see up on the screen there. So Holly, as one of our Generation 2B participants, did you know much about the RAIN study prior to your involvement?
I heard snippets, so Mike and I have been together for a long time, and I'd heard snippets over the years of, we know he was going off to do a sleep study or whatever it might be. I didn't realise how big it was until I came in and found out that it's one of the biggest in the world, so it was quite amazing.
And how did you find your first experience with the RAIN study during the first data collection phase?
I found everything to be really personable, so for such a big study, everything felt really welcoming and really personable, which was nice.
That's lovely to hear. And is there anything that stood out to you in your first experience at all? Anything that you weren't expecting to have?
I think just, I didn't realise how big it was and how much the data was being used. So,
And Tony, was this similar for you at all, or did you have some prior knowledge of the study before?
I agree exactly. I'd only really known what Beck had sort of told me about it previously. But when I came in for the day, it was really good. Everyone was really friendly and it went really smooth. It was really good to have all three kids involved with it, and they did really well, surprisingly, for the amount of time with the information.
They did really well. And then reflecting on your first data collection visit, obviously you attended with all your kids as well during your assessment. How have those experiences felt for you? Was it what you were expecting?
It was pretty much exactly what I expected from it, to be honest with you.
No surprises there?
Beck had said a lot of very positive things about it, and great. I'm glad to be able to, like I said, bring the kids into it as well. I think it's really good to collect all that information.
And Holly, when you first considered joining the RAIN study, what were your initial thoughts? For what reason did you decide to become a participant?
Well, it was actually Mike's dad who mentioned it to me. So he'd seen something about Gen 3 and the startup of Gen 3. And he mentioned it, and I know it's just been a big point for Mike, and being able to do all those testing and have access to that information and what it's going forward. It was such a great opportunity that, we had to sign up.
Yeah, beautiful. Did you have any hesitations about participating at all?
No, and I think just coming in and meeting people and putting faces to names, I was pretty happy with everything. Yeah.
And was that similar for you, Tony? For what reasons did you want to become a participant?
I just think it was good just to be able to collect as much information as possible, and if there was anything that did come up and it was highlighted with me, Beck, all the kids, then the sooner you know about it, the better, and the more information that's out there, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we move on to talking about welcoming our Generation 3 participants into the study, I'd just like to share a bit about the dynamics of running this data collection phase. So as you can see from the table behind me, our participants go through a big series of assessments while they're in with us, and it's primarily based on their age groups. So we have 4 main age brackets, and each of those age brackets have smaller divisions from within. And all participants, regardless of their age, complete our core RAIN study measures, which include height, weight, basic anthrop measurements, blood pressures, and a urine sample as well. And then as participants move on to the next age group, they also complete body composition measures like skin folds and bone breadth measurements, and they also provide us with a saliva sample. At age 10 and over, they also have the option to complete a fasted blood test as well as a motor competence assessment. And then once they reach the final age brackets, they are able to complete a cardiovascular endurance assessment and physical fitness testing as well. Each age bracket also includes a series of questionnaires which are completed by parents on behalf of their children. And then once the children reach age 11, they complete a couple by themselves. So the time needed for these assessments ranges dramatically depending on the age group of the children, anywhere from half an hour to over 2 hours, and that primarily depends on how many kids we're seeing at once as well. So if we flick to the next slide, we can also see our cohort spans a very broad range of ages. As Beck mentioned earlier, we're seeing participants from 0 to 18 years old, and it just really reflects the diversity of the family structures within this follow-up. So I guess unlike previous follow-ups where we've been seeing individual children, the uniqueness of this follow-up is that we're seeing a lot of families rather than the individual children, and for some families this just means seeing one child, but for others, however, it does mean we can be seeing up to 8 children in one remarkable case, which means we're seeing at about 8 to 10 participants at once in often cases if we have the generation 2 and then the 2B join us as well. So as you can imagine, that is a lot to take for our research assistants, and we're probably having 1 to 2 research assistants working on those families at a time. So this shift to a family-centred approach really gives us a much richer perspective on health and wellbeing, and we do recognise it brings its own set of logistics with it as well. So Beck, Beck and Tony, you have 3 of your beautiful children who are with us today. How did you find the first data collection phase with the 3 children at once?
Very easy, actually.
Yeah.
It was
That's surprising. That's
easier than I
great.
expected. Maybe my expectations are pretty low going around with a 3, 2 and a 1-year-old. But everyone was super nice. Everyone was lovely to the kids. The kids loved everyone. It was just an overall amazing, super awesome experience.
Yeah.
And Marissa, how did your daughter find the experience as well with her first data collection phase?
I think she liked the snacks the most. She very much takes after her father. I think
We have a lot of snacks for them, that's for sure. Were there any barriers that any of you had to overcome in order to bring your children into these assessments?
I think for us, because Eleanor was 5 months now, but the first one was 3 months, so we just had to work around feeding and sleeping, but she went really well. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's how we started the first session.
Yeah, I
Was
think we
feeding.
walked in and poor Kira was in charge of us, and we walked in with, we have to feed and we've got to change a nappy straight away. So we went half an hour there and we hadn't even asked the question yet. So, yeah, you guys were great. So
It was really good that when we can get the kids in when they're that early. It's a really good. So how did you find it with a 3-month-old?
Yeah, great. I mean, we were still, Eleanor was our first, so we were still kind of getting used to taking her out and being out in the outside world. So the rain study was awesome, very accommodating of us. We've just kind of remember it was her first commitment at 3 months. So I think we had swimming, but that's for fun. And this was also fun for her. It was the first time she saw bubbles and she bawled her eyes out.
Yeah.
But no, it was her first commitment, so I won't forget that it was the first thing she had to go to. So yeah, no, really good.
Good to see the bubbles worked. They're our little key
Yeah.
for getting the blood pressures to sit still for the blood pressures. No, that's awesome. And I'll ask this question to all of you, so feel free for anyone to jump in on this one. Because you've all got your families involved now, where do you want to see the research of the RAIN study go in the future for not only yourselves but your children?
Yeah, pretty impressed, to be honest, where it's going at the moment. As long as it kind of stays on that trajectory, I suppose. I always thought the kind of the gut stuff had an interest, resonated with me. There seems to be more coming out with gut-brain axis and gut microbiome. That stuff really interests me, and the food frequency survey, as laborious as that was to fill out.
Yeah.
I think Neil from the ECU before was had all the data up on the screen, and it's good to see it actually being put to use, because it took forever to fill out.
Yeah.
But the gut stuff has had a real interest to me. So anything that kind of follows that line would be great.
And Beck and Tony, is there any particular direction or any particular research topics that you'd like to see?
Yeah, I would probably like to see some results on hereditary ADHD, autism, and other neurodivergent things such as that. We're a whole neurodivergent family, so that would be super handy and helpful for us too.
Yeah, absolutely. And for yourself, Marissa, is there anything?
Just anything that's to do with autism, ADHD, or even mental health.
Yeah,
Just the whole lot. Yeah.
And then the last question I have for you all up here is, what do you believe that the RAIN study should focus on when it comes to supporting its participants across all generations? Is there anything that you'd like to see that could make all of your experiences more meaningful?
For me, no. I mean, the whole time, everything that I've had to do with it to date, has been really good and really positive. Everyone was great with the kids, and obviously I've not had the experience that Bex had, but the small amount that I have has been really, really good and really productive, I believe anyway.
Yeah, I'm on the same level. I don't really think there's much else you guys could do that would actually improve the whole experience.
Yeah, I'll just add that when I went in as a kid, I feel like you guys made a fuss over me when I was a little tacker. And like I come in at 33 and you still make a fuss over me. So I feel like a kid going in again, and you jump on the scales and you fill out the survey and you get a ham and cheese toastie and go home. I noticed you had the ham and cheese croissants out, and I was like, just felt right at home coming in. So.
A little bit of an upgrade here. Beautiful. So they're all really great ideas. Thank you all for sharing those with us. I'd like to take a moment to open the mic up to our Generation 3 staff within the audience and ask you all a few questions about your experience with conducting assessments so far and how you've found some of the barriers and some of the rewards of this process. So I'll jump over to Kira first off. How has it been working across the multiple generations within the RAIN Study House? Obviously, we're running the Generation 1 and 2 assessments at once, as well as the Gen 3. How has it been working across all three at once?
Yeah, so we obviously all started with the Gen 1s and Gen 2s like April last year. We kind of all got used to running those assessments. And then once we brought Gen 3s on this year, we did have to make like adjustments because the times of the assessments do differ quite a lot, like Izzy mentioned. So the Gen 3s can take, anywhere from half an hour up to like just over 2 hours, where our Gen 1s and Gen 2s do take a little bit longer. So typically maybe usually 4 to 5 or so. And what we're seeing now is we're seeing like whole families come through. So we've got the Gen 3s coming in with their parents and then the grandparents also coming in all at the same time. So just, managing the floor for data collection on each day, just making sure that everyone has a nice experience when they do come in. No one's waiting around for too long, hopefully. But yeah, it's been really good. But I think our team has adjusted really nicely, and always a lot of fun having the Gen 3s and having the whole family there as well is kind of like very special, I think, having everyone involved. Yeah.
Thanks, Kira. And then Layla, where are we? Beautiful. As the sort of primary research assistant across Generation 3 at the moment, how have you found the experience of working with multiple families and multiple children at once?
Yeah, so we've seen quite a diverse range of ages, and Izzy's already given you a run through of the different assessments that we do. I've seen children as young as 11 weeks old, so very, very young newborns, and we've got children in the study that are as old as 14 and 15. And what I love about the Gen 3 cohort in particular is you never know what you're walking into. No 2 days are the same, and no two children are the same either. You might be doing the same assessment, but with one child, it will take half an hour, and with another child, it can take up to 3 hours. And a lot of what we do on the floor is not so much collecting the data, but it's building that rapport with the children, making them feel comfortable with us, and also giving the families the confidence in what we do. And this is also something I do want to emphasize to anyone who uses our data. These are children who have had to overcome significant hurdles just to get into the room and open up to us. It's not just numbers and statistics on a page that we look at, but it's a snapshot of the child as a whole. A lot of children that we see have had significant medical anxiety or medical trauma from bad experiences at the doctors or at the hospital, and something that we think is as easy as sitting on a weight chair or measuring your height is actually not that straightforward anymore. And this is what I find really rewarding about the Gen 3 cohort. It's finally being able to get through to that child, make them feel comfortable around you, make them feel confident. And we do really love what we do. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks, Layla. And then the last question I have is for Di. Just more about what have been some of the main logistical or operational adjustments needed to successfully launch the Generation 3 follow-up?
Without saying funding and space, there have been some major hurdles, but as you've alluded to, all the different age groups of the Generation 3 has been a big hurdle to create a new cohort that spreads across 0 to 18 plus the additional Gen 2Bs. So in a sense, you're creating 4 or 5 follow-ups within one over time and continuing on. So I think that was the major hurdle to kick it off and get started. We created that recruitment base because we had hearsay that participants had kids and all that, but we had to actually create the definite information. So the recruitment questionnaire, as we called it, could be another name, with people actually signing on again, was really important to create that base. And once we've got that base, we were able to step off and then decide with the scientific rigour of what blocks we needed, collaborated with many different groups in Perth about what was best to do. So we've got a really great base to start with, and we just need more time to continue it on, because there's someone that's been born today that will need to be in the RAIN study, so we need to go forward with it. And all credit to the crew and our little RAIN study house for fitting everybody in, and it warms my heart to hear the comments from the participants. And as Beck said earlier, and Layla said, is that we see the results, we get the numbers, but it's those happy sounds and the confident and people being positive about coming. We'd like to work more on those who can't make it in, because life's busy, so we have to be adaptable and think about that. And that's why we are consulting with our participants about what are the barriers for them to come in and how we can make that better for them. But I think we've got over some of those hurdles, because here we are.
It's running smoothly so far. So I believe we should have a few minutes for questions from the audience, if anyone has any questions for myself or any of the staff members or the participants at all.
Hi, first of all, I really wanted to thank all the participants of the RAIN study. I feel that, voluntary participation is really important, especially for a study that's been multi-generational. And it sometimes must be hard on you to take time. And so from all of us, I really wanted to thank. And second thing I wanted to ask was, how was the experience for you? Do you like it, or, sometimes it's a drag, or what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I'll answer that one. I still get excited going into the RAIN study, so it's never been something I've thought of as a chore, or, except that food survey. But everything else, I still get excited to go in. There's always something new and something to do, and it's always been a positive experience, yeah.
That's so nice to know.
Yeah.
Hi there. Yep. Sorry, really great panel. I just wanted to ask if you've had any experiences with medical procedures that might be confronting to your children, and how you might have tackled that, and if that's been an issue or something that's kind of you've had to have a go at.
I can answer that one. My daughter is 6. So she recently did the test at the Lions Eye Institute, and she did not want to do the pressure test because it looked like someone was poking her in the eye, and she didn't want to do that. So I let that one slide, but she did everything else.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm actually one of the people that does Lions Eye tests.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's great.
But glad to hear that the rest kind of went well. And yes, because there are a few confronting ones there. So
To
I'm
be
always
fair, she did it the first time.
yeah. Well,
But not
you
the
know,
second
that's
time.
better than nothing. But
Yeah.
I recognise that some of those tests can be quite intimidating, even for adults sometimes. So yeah, any ways that we can improve kind of the experience for them is always important.
And I think that's the benefit of also a longitudinal study is if we don't get the data at one point in the child's life, we have the opportunity to get it another time or the time after. So the children will never be forced into doing something that they don't want to do, that they're not comfortable with, because we do have the opportunity to get it later down the track. Any other questions?
I just have a wonder about the impact of the information and the results, and do any of the participants make changes in their lives based on the outcome of the results or the information they're provided about their own data? Is there any stories that anyone could?
I don't know if I ever changed my lifestyle, but I remember getting results from the 21-year-old male fertility study, and my numbers were all great and in normal ranges, and basically I was fertile. Now, to go through your 20s knowing that is quite a, not many people know that in their 20s. I mean, as a young man, you always think, will I be able to have kids? It's not everyone gets the chance to be told you're good, So that was really rewarding. I think when we were planning on having kids, so the RAIN study said I'm good. So, so it's all good. So, yeah, I don't know if I've ever changed my behaviours, but it probably influenced my behaviour. I probably walked around with a bit of confidence after that. Yeah.
I do have a story from my childhood when I was about 3. The RAIN study is the one that discovered that I had a lazy muscle in my right eye, which ended up being quite a rare discovery. So basically, instead of the receptors joining individually to the brain, my right eye actually joined to my left eye, which doesn't really affect me. I'm just a little bit blurry in this eye, but there's not like glasses or contact lenses that can be done. But if the RAIN study didn't tell my parents to push forward with getting it fixed, I would likely be half blind at least in one eye. So big difference to my childhood.
Do we have time? No more time? No problems. So that does conclude our panel for today. Thank you again, everyone, for joining me up on stage here today. We do appreciate that you may have had to take time off work to attend us, so big thank you to all. And we also have some participants in the audience as well. So that thank you goes out to all of you as well for taking the time to join us here today. Your support means the world. So we will now break for lunch. Please, everyone, make your way to the terrace through the doors on your left again. We kindly ask that all staff make their way to the foyer at 1:15 p.m. for individual photos against the media wall. And we ask that you're all seated back in here by 1:35. So thank you and enjoy your lunch.